What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful podcast. I'm your host, Rainy Denicio. Today, we have an Army veteran, and he is also a real estate investor. He's the founder of Military First Investment Group, building value one investment at a time. I have none other than Randall Broyles. How you doing, Randall?
I'm doing good, Fortes. How you doing?
I'm good, doing good, man. So Randall, before we talk about real estate and things like that, um, tell us a little bit about your service in the Army. What did you do, and how long you served for?
So I am a 20-year veteran. I served as, an aviation mechanic. When I first joined the Army, I started off as an OH-58 Delta mechanic. And then in '06, the Army decided that they were going to get rid of the 58 Delta um, and transition to the Apache. So
Okay.
I ended up going. I ended up going to the Apache transition course, and once I graduated from the Apache transition course, I moved to Fort Drum, where I was put in a first sergeant position, and then I was the first sergeant from 2015 until I retired in really 2020.
So yeah, I was reading your website bio here. Is 21 years of service in the Army. That's congrats on that. Recently retired. Um, what would you say were some of your biggest takeaway? Being a career military.
So the biggest takeaway from me being in the military would being, the understanding of how to work hand in hand with different individuals in and around the military. So everybody that joins the military is all different walks of life. We got some people that come from a high net worth family who joins the military because their dad or mom said, hey, in order for you to get X, Y, and Z, you have to serve, right? And then you have some people that have no choice, like myself. I had no choice. I didn't have a high net worth family. I didn't have, the smarts at the time
Yeah.
to go to college, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So the military was where I went. It saved my
And
life, to be honest with you.
being a career Army military, like where did have you always had the idea of investing in real estate? Like where did that kind of come about?
My real estate investing journey started in roughly 2011 uh, with a single wide trailer that was 2,800 bucks. So my dad and mom were living in Tampa, Florida. My dad got brain cancer, and
Mm.
for some reason, the government wouldn't put him on disability. So, and he was still trying to work. When he'd get out in the sun, his brain would swell. And, he would have all kinds of issues. He wouldn't be able to drive, forget where he was at, things like that. And I said, at the end of the day, I said, man, that's not right. So I moved him up, moved my mom up with him. And, the very next day, I took him down to the Social Security office and they deemed him disabled in North Carolina. So I don't understand where, from Florida to North Carolina, where the difference is. It should all be the same pot, the same processes. But he came up here and got him disabled, got him a check, and then he passed away in 2011. And my mom said, "Hey, Randy, at the end of the day, I can't live here." So we found somewhere for my mom to go, and I started renting that trailer out for 450 bucks a month, and then it just took off from there.
That was the trailer that your parents were in
Hmm.
back
That's
in
the
Florida, and then that's how you kind of just
no. So in North Carolina, so
in
I
North
bought the
Carolina.
trailer in North Carolina and moved
Okay.
them up to North Carolina.
Okay. And then after that you said your mom had difficulty just staying there by herself.
Yeah,
And then
too
that's
many
when
memories.
right. And then that's when you started renting it out. And that's it, I guess by accident maybe, or you weren't really looking into investing in real estate or
No. I watched my wife's father, and the way he lived, and he started, he started in real estate, but he started off in single wide mobile homes. He's got a couple double wides, here in North Carolina, but now he owns a self storage facility. It's free and clear. Everything he has is free and clear.
Mm.
So I was like, hey, this kind of fell in my lap. Let me give it a shot, right? And that's kind of where it went from there.
I kind of want to and back the story a little bit. Talk a little bit about your transition out of the army. So you said you retired in 2020, right? Amidst the pandemic, COVID-19, 2020, right? How was that kind of transition for you? And then how did that lead into, hey, let me just give this a try with investing in real estate?
So the transition was not very difficult, because I planned accordingly. With my military, I also own a mobile home park. I own, two single family homes, and I just closed on a self storage facility in August. Um,
Congrats, man.
but thanks. But the transition was not hard, because I was already due to COVID considered non-essential because a first sergeant can do his job from anywhere. So I literally was, from the beginning of COVID until I retired, I was chairborne. So I was sitting in my living room at my house, with the government computer answering emails, and making sure that my daughter was going to online school. Which, by the way, for all those that homeschool, high five. My props go out to you because it was a pain in my butt. But the real scary part was getting that first retirement check. And I tell people nowadays, right, if you don't start planning now, and utilizing the systems and processes that's given to you inside of the military, uh, if, i.e., VA loan, quadplex, mixed use from my understanding now, at every installation while you're young and you can afford it, do that because I took the Redux. So what that does is that gives you $30,000. It's taxable depending on the location. Like if you're in a combat zone, it's tax free. But I bought a duplex. But
Hmm.
my retirement check, right? My first retirement check was $1,700. So I went from making roughly $8,000 a month, right, to $1,700. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to find another job. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I don't have to find another job. Real estate is my job.
And then you mentioned earlier, you said your father-in-law was a real estate or is a real estate investor. So he
Hmm.
was kind of like uh, was he
My
kind of like your
mentor.
mentor uh,
Uh,
in that?
yeah, I ran things by him, but he's very, very conservative. So he's not a high risk taker.
Mm.
Uh, he likes he's very low risk. Like I try to, so I'm trying to expand. I have a vision, that we can talk about later, but I try to get him on board with these visions, and he's like, "Nah, I want something a little bit closer to home. Nah, I want this," or and I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe next opportunity." You know, so he's really low risk kind of investor, but just watching the way he lives and how much freedom he has, that's kind of what drove me that way.
Yeah, I guess like what kind of drives every investor is right, like the financial freedom or in the time that the time that you can have with the family that it
Absolutely.
provides. So yeah, so those are great points. Um, so just recap with your real estate investing. How many properties or how many units? What type of assets do you own? Can you just give our audience kind of like a broad overview?
Yeah, so currently I have two single family residents that I rent out. Um, I have a mobile home park, that I am currently, um, fixing, flipping. Well, not really flipping, but fixing the process. And then I just bought a value add, self storage facility.
And that's all local where you're at?
It's all local where I'm at. I also have a LOI submitted in a 200 unit self storage facility in Phoenix, New York. That's another value add, but it's only going to be a lease up issue, not necessarily go in there, cut the grass, right? Put in the advertisement, the systems and processes. Most of that's already there. Uh, just the guy that owns it is not focused on the self storage. He's focused on his other business that's on the same lot.
You said Phoenix, New York?
Hmm.
So it's in New York, but the city's
Yeah,
Phoenix?
the city's Phoenix. Yeah, I
Okay.
know. I
I thought I was
I sent
confused.
it. Yeah, no, the same thing happened. I sent it to, my mastermind leader, and he was like, Phoenix, Arizona? I was like, no, Phoenix, New York. It's literally, 20 miles, 20 minutes northwest of Syracuse. So it's upstate.
So you're kind of like branching out of your local area
Hmm.
now.
Yeah,
Awesome, man. So that's kind of like the next step for you.
yeah.
So, Randall, tell us a little bit about, you've been investing in real estate for quite some time now. What's kind of been some of your worst experiences or moments you've had since you started?
So my worst experience that I've had is, I bought a single family rental in a D class neighborhood. It's a war zone. That literally has been my worst experience in real estate, right? So the first time I bought it, I was using, a property management that very good. So luckily I was stationed here in the Fayetteville area, and I literally would go by and check it. Well, one day I went by and there's no cars in the driveway, and I went by it that night, no car. And then so I called the property management, and they were like, "Yeah, we haven't received rent. We haven't heard from them in 3 weeks." And I was like, "Okay, well that's weird. When are you going to tell me about it?"
Wow.
So I went by there and went in the backyard. The sliding glass door was open. The power was off. And I was like, hmm. And they had vacated the premises, right? And then it just gradually got worse. This last person that was in that house, was a soldier that had got kicked out of the army for stealing from the PX,
Wow.
right? Um, and she found some job that she was working at night, so she would leave the sliding glass door open for her dog, and the dog would, come in and out and would pee and poop in the house. And I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. You can have it.
Wow.
I bought another asset so somebody else can have these nightmares. So I did a lease option. So I sold it with $10,000 down. The guy's going to go in, fix it up, rent it out, and then when he gets done with the renovation, he's gonna give me the rest of the cash up front, and then it'll be his.
So kind of like on the that's one of those it is a worst moment in investing in real estate.
Oh, it was god awful.
Yeah. Um, on the flip side of that, what's been the most rewarding for you?
So on the flip side, the most rewarding is the freedom.
Yeah.
Like after I retired, because the military takes so much time away from you between, NCOES, deployments, training, field, late night work hours. So literally, it is the freedom. Now I can get up. Every morning when my daughter goes to school, I get up. I make sure she's up. I come downstairs. I pack her lunch. Right. I I put it at the front door. I go upstairs, check on her. She's up doing things. I take her to the bus stop. I'm here when she gets off the bus. If she needs somebody, sometimes I'll go pick her up early from school just to go hang
Yeah.
out. So it's the freedom, to give back to my kids when they need it.
Yeah, that's an awesome feeling, man. Um,
Yeah.
so, I mentioned earlier in the beginning, right? Military First Investment Group. Can you just talk to our audience a little bit about that?
So Military First is an investment group that was started by me and my property manager for all of my houses in Fayetteville. Um, and he started Soldiers First Real Estate.
Okay.
So he was my first property manager that actually, took the job, did it right. You know, And no matter how good your property manager is, depending on where you live at, you can't tell people how to live, right? You can say, hey, you got to fix this, or hey, you're going to repair that, hey, you're going to pay for that. But if they live nasty and dirty, they live nasty and dirty.
Right,
You
right,
can't evict them for the way they live, right? So I've been doing a lot of research and been, the last 2 or 3 years I was in the military, been doing a lot of research on multifamily, a lot of research on syndications and things like that, and watching all of these people that are in syndications get huge, like make 800, $900,000 at a cash out refi using other people's money. And I was like, man, I can do that,
right.
right? I really enjoy investing in real estate, so I can do that. And that's what happened. So we started Military First Investment Group, and we have our first deal was the self storage facility that we bought here in North Carolina. It's in a little small town called Bun Level. Um, but we JV'd it, so it was me, him, and a GC that is on the team, and we JV'd it. Right, we paid $125,000 for it.
Wow.
It's four. It's 4,000 net rentable square feet, sitting on 2.5 acres of land. So it has room to expand up to about 200 units. So with my underwriting and the things, the expenses that we're covering, we're looking at about 2.5 to 2.6 million dollar project when we're done. We're in no rush to get this done. We'll do it one building at a time. So and
Is this storage, self-storage, like a long term, or are you guys going to be short term and refinancing it?
so it'll be short term when it comes to cash out refi because we're going to use the equity in the property to expand, right? So we'll cash out, we'll build building, um, we'll lease up once it's stabilized 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Then we'll do it and build another building, right, and another, and we'll continue that process. But some of the self storage facilities that we will buy will be, a 3 to 5 year hold, 5 to 7 year hold. We'll refinance it at 3 years. They cash out, investors back, and hold and, you know 75-25 split, 70-30 split equity side, and then sell it. But my real focus is the ones that are in and around military installations.
Okay.
So those will be buy and holds. Those will be part of my vision of military first self storage.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, Randall, a lot of our listeners are obviously active duty and veterans. Um, what's what advice that you can kind of give them right now? What's one actionable step that you can give them right now to get started in real estate investing?
Education, right? Education, right? Because without education, you're just going out here on the limb, right? But somebody once told me, when I first started, the guy is a multimillionaire, uh, and he told me, he said, if you're scared, right, you're never going to do it, right? And I took that to heart because I told him, I was like, hey man, I'm scared. I don't, like I sit back and I watch you and my father-in-law, and y'all are just going to town, like you're getting on a plane and you're flying to the college basketball championships and in upstate New York. I'm like, you know, he pulls up in a new Corvette every year. I'm like, what is he doing that I'm not doing? And they were investing in real estate, um, but they were uncomfortable,
Right.
right? So when you're uncomfortable, that's when you succeed the most. That's when you win the most. But I would say education, know what you're getting into, know your asset class, right? Find out what your niche is. So when I retired, I was like, oh, I'm going to go multifamily. I'm going to go multifamily. I'm going to go multifamily. But after the long thought, like, yeah, multifamily is good and you can get a high net worth real fast in multifamily, because obviously your numbers are larger.
Right.
So when you buy a value add multifamily apartment complex, you're raising the rents $150 to $200 per door,
All right.
right? But when you buy a self storage facility, depending on the market, you're probably raising the rents, 20 to $40, sometimes $50. So you don't get as rich as quick, right, in self storage, but you have way less headaches.
Yeah, you don't have anybody. You're not dealing with people,
But you're dealing with people. But for instance, if somebody doesn't pay, right, I lock them out of the gate.
Yeah, you just
I
yeah.
put a red lock on it, and then hey, if you want your stuff, pay me, and then you can get back in the gate, and I'll take the red lock off. But if you don't pay me, 30 days, I put an ad in the paper, and you know go down to the courthouse and put a lien on their stuff, and you know 30 days after that, I open it up, I sell it. If I make more than I do, I hold it in a bank account for them to come back to, and if they don't come back to it after 12 months, it's mine.
Yeah, I mean, like you're not necessarily having to deal with evictions and things like that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
no toilets,
yeah,
no
yeah. No
toilets.
toilets. um, so Randall, what's one thing before we go to our second segment of the podcast here? What's one thing you want our listeners and our viewers to take away from this episode?
So one thing I want the listeners to take away from this episode is don't be scared, right? Just think of when you learn how to walk or learn how to ride a bike, right? How many times did you fail?
All right.
How many times did you fall? But you got back up, right? So there's going to be some times in your day-to-day operations where you feel like, man, I'm never going to get past this. This is never going to work. I'm never going to succeed, right? But get back on that bicycle, get back on your feet, and continue to move forward, right? Be better today than you were yesterday, and be better tomorrow than you were today.
That's awesome. To continue to move forward, and I think it just goes back to your point. Um, I think it's just basically it's all mindset, with all this stuff. You're trying to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Not being scared to go down that venture of investing in real estate because yeah, at some point you have to start somewhere. Um, and just know that yeah, you will mess up. You are gonna fall in the
Hmm.
beginning because nobody knows what they're doing in the beginning, right? I think it's just with everything, it comes with practice, it comes with repetition. If you don't get in the game, then yeah, you'll be in the stands forever. Randall, so going into the second segment of our podcast here, so this is what I call the Fast Five. These are the same five questions asked all my guests. You ready? First question: what's one hobby you enjoy?
So one hobby that I enjoy, I really enjoy woodworking. So I have a Facebook page called Handy Randy Wooden Designs. I make shadow boxes, I make wooden flags, I make coin holders. I just made my wife a noodle board that goes over the stove. So I really enjoy woodworking.
And then next question: if you had to choose one person to hang out with for one day, who'd it be and why?
So if I had one person to hang out with, it would be my father, right? And the reason I say that is because my father made me the man I am today. When I was a young kid, we didn't have anything. You know, when I would take a bath, my water would run out onto the ground, not into the sewage system. If that says anything, like I could literally look in my shower and see the ground. But regardless of that, he still got up every day at 4:30 and went to work. And he would work until the job was done, whether it be 10 o'clock at night, be 12 o'clock. But as you grow older and you want to be a kid, right, and you want to fit in, and if you have teenagers, they want the nice clothes and the nice shoes. Well, he told me, hey boy, he said, you want these nice fancy shoes and these nice fancy clothes? Work for it. And I said, what do you mean, Dad? He said, come to work with me. on the weekends. I said, okay. So the first weekend, it was Saturday. He woke me up at 4 o'clock. He said, "You ready to go to work?" I was 12. I was like, "No." He said, "Well, get up, let's go, or We'll be shopping at Kmart." And I did, and from that, I've been working ever since. So that's just what I do. I enjoy working.
That's awesome, brother. So Randall, next question here. Recommend a book for our audience to read.
Who, not how. I'm about halfway through that book. Now, right? Because in the military, we always want to know how. How can we get this done? How can we, you know what I
All right.
mean? Like, hey, I want you to do this. Okay, well, how can I get this done? Not who is able to get this done for me. Like, who can I go to that has ran the range, or who
Right.
is an expert at info that I can, like how? Okay, I don't know. Let me figure out how I can get this done. But the real question is who? Who is your expert, right? Who's your capital partner? And I'm learning that right now, as I'm building my team, and I'm bringing on people. Like, I have a GC. Now I have a structure guy that structures deals, and he's really good at equity, split. I have an acquisition guy, so who get me the furthest?
Yeah,
So who, not how.
it's a great book. Great book. What's your favorite quote and why?
Oh man, favorite quote. So my favorite quote is 90% of things that happen to you, or 10% of things happen to you, 90% the way you react to them. Right. So you can, I was just talking the other day, you can, literally get all out of shape, because, you didn't get selected for the next promotion. You didn't win. You weren't the highest and best LOI for that 10 unit deal, or, the soft market self storage facility. Right. But if him and Han throw your hands up, right, you have literally just taken time away from you stepping back, focusing, and putting in another LOI, underwriting another deal, right, working harder to get that promotion, right? So that's my favorite quote.
And last question here, Randall. Where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, or even 10 years from now?
Um, well, a year from now, what's the date? Today is December, so I see myself in a year opening up more Christmas presents. But no, but no, in a year from now, so I actually have a team meeting in 7 days, and we're going to discuss how, with my team, how and who can get us 120,000 net rentable square feet to close, um, this year. Right. So that's my 1 year. My 5 year mark, I want to see a military first self storage, at least at five of these, at least five or six military installations
Okay.
across the United States. Right. In 10 years, I really see military first at all of the large installations where we can do inter-base transfers. We can do, facility transfers. Like, hey, you're coming from Fort Bragg and you're moving to Campbell. Well, guess what? If you need a facility at Fort Campbell, let me know. You'll have one when you get there. So it's kind of like a door to door, but
Okay.
self storage is what I see.
It's awesome vision, man. Um, Again, Randall, thank you for sharing your story here, telling us a little bit about your service and obviously what you're doing now with real estate investing. One final thing, where can they follow you and where can they support you at?
So they can follow me on Facebook at Military First Investment Group. They can follow me on Instagram. They can follow me, my Randall Broyles, at Facebook. They can even, reach out if you want. You can leave my number, or email address in the show notes. If you have any questions or you just want to talk real estate, reach out to me. I love talking real estate, especially if you're military, right? Because I want to, I'm a leader, so I'm going to coach, teach, and mentor regardless who you are. I want to make sure that you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing, and you don't end up, fall on your face.
Awesome, brother. And we'll do that in the show notes. Leave your email, at least if anybody wants to get in contact with Randall, and make sure you go check out Randall on those social media and on the website as well. Again, Randall, thanks for your time, and I'll talk to you soon, man.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me. Look forward to it.
Awesome. Take care.
Yep.